Welcome to the Contrast Cues for Speech and Literacy overview. In this video, we're going to give you a comprehensive look at the Contrast Cues deck. Before we dive into this video, though, let's clarify some lingo that you may or may not be familiar with. Let's quickly talk about onsets and rhymes. In a single syllable word, the onset is the sound or sounds that precede the vowel. The rhyme is the vowel and any sounds that follow it. So for example, in the word mall, is the onset and all is the rhyme. You can manipulate onsets and rhymes to create new words. For example, you could change to t to make this word tall. Or you could change the rhyme from all to oo to make this word moo. Now that we've discussed that lingo, let's get talking about the Contrast Cues deck. The Contrast Cues deck contains 80 cards with 22 initial consonant onsets and 58 rhyme cue cards that can be mixed and matched to create over 700 target words. Let's take a little closer look at a card from this deck. The front of each card has a visual cue that represents a consonant onset or rhyme. The artwork is intentionally fun, intuitive, and relatable to facilitate teaching and engagement. The cards are also designed to decrease glare that often causes problems for children with visual impairments. The front of the onset and rhyme cards are formatted similarly, with visuals representing various onsets and rhymes. You may recognize some of the onset and rhyme visuals, as a handful are shared between the Contrast Cues deck and the original Bjorem speech sound cue deck for continuity and practice. If we flip these cues over, you'll see that the backs also look similar but do have a couple variations. The onset cards have the sound cue name, the target sound in a word, and the target sound itself. It is also color-coded based on the manner of the sound production. The back of the rhyme cards have the rhyme name and applicable spelling variations. These cards are also color-coded in this turquoise color. Now let's talk about why you might use this deck. This deck is designed to support evidence-based contrastive approaches for addressing phonological errors, hence the name. These contrastive approaches include minimal pairs, maximal oppositions, and multiple oppositions. This deck is also perfect for supporting phonemic awareness. This deck can help children better understand how sounds make up words and how changing those sounds can change the meaning, making a whole new word. So you might ask, who is this deck useful for? Who can use it? There are no limitations on who can use this deck, but a couple of examples include SLPs, parents, teachers, and reading specialists. Who would benefit from this deck? Anyone with phonological disorders or individuals who are working on improving phonemic awareness, a key skill for reading and writing. Let's take a look at how to use this deck to implement those evidence-based contrastive approaches and support phonemic awareness. These cues will help you effectively implement contrastive phonological approaches. You may recognize some of these, like minimal pairs, maximal oppositions, and multiple oppositions. The beauty of this deck is that you can make whatever individualized targets your client needs. To use these cards with a minimal pairs approach, you will first need to identify the error pattern or patterns you want to target. For example, if you have a child who needs to work on the phonological error pattern of velar fronting, you would choose a handful of rhymes and add the t and k onsets, or the tick-tock and coughing camel sounds, to the beginning of the rhymes. Now you might be thinking, why do I need this when I could just grab a set of minimal pairs cards? Well, there are two main reasons. One, you can use this deck with minimal pairs cards or stimuli to make the contrasts more explicit. And second, and probably more importantly, there are not always grab-and-go resources handy for every phonological error pattern that exists. This deck is particularly helpful for error patterns that are consistent but perhaps less common. For example, an F for S or an F for S substitution. This deck is ideal for implementation of the maximal opposition approach as well. as this approach often requires target selection that is very client-specific, which means that grab-and-go resources or stimulus items are not often available or don't suit the particular needs of a client. The versatility of this deck makes it a go-to option for implementing these worthwhile but somewhat tricky approaches. This deck is also ideal for implementation of the multiple oppositions approach. Like the maximal oppositions approach, this approach requires client-specific target selection, which again means that grab-and-go resources or stimulus items are not often available or don't suit the particular needs of the client. Again, this deck comes to the rescue. The multiple oppositions approach is often used for children who present with a phoneme collapse, meaning that they substitute one sound for multiple sounds. In this approach, you would contrast the collapsed sound with 4 other onsets or sounds that are not in the child's phonetic inventory and that ideally are maximally opposed and/or vary across various distinctive feature classes. The idea here is not necessarily to target every missing sound, but to get cross-class change. It can be a little overwhelming to think about, but this deck takes a lot of the load off. But the versatility of this deck does not stop here. It can be used beyond treating speech sound disorders. This deck makes supporting phonemic awareness both fun and easy. You can manipulate onsets and rhymes to see how changing sounds changes word meaning. Make new words, identify whether the new word is real or not, practice writing the new words. The options are endless. Working on onsets and rhymes improves awareness of word patterns, which supports skilled reading and writing skills. Let's just touch base on a couple more things before we wrap up. Here are some helpful things that you might want to know about the Contrast Cues deck. First, this deck, like we mentioned before, does share some cards with the Bjorem speech sound cues. This deck also, as of this date, has the baby sound for G and the sheep sound for B. If you want the most updated or recent sounds, you can purchase the Contrast Cues expansion pack, which will give you the current versions of the B and G sounds, so the bouncing ball sound and the gulping sound. Target selection, like I mentioned earlier, can be tricky, but makes all the difference when it comes to effectively treating speech sound disorders. Our Contrast Cues poster is designed to make the process of target selection easier and more effective for you. This is a separate purchase and download unless you purchase it in a bundle, but this is well worth the investment. For more information about this deck and other products, visit our website at www.bjoremspeech.com.